You all know there are hundreds of betting sites out there, but don't be fooled. Some sites are legal in some states only, some sites pay in Bitcoin, and some sites have even been hacked. However, BetUS has been in business for over 30 years. They have future bets that are paying out in the thousands, and there's still time for you to bet on the Super Bowl, the National Championship, and even the NBA Championship. Just use the QR code right here and it'll take you to the BetUS site. BetUS. Check it out and bet responsibly. Are you a fellow car guy? I have a 2008 Ford Mustang GT convertible, and nothing makes me happier in that car than when it's nice and clean. And you know who helps me get there? RevAutoCarCare.com. They help me get that pony looking as nice and shiny and ready for any of the car meetups that are all around the great city of El Paso. Spoil your car and go to RevAutoCarCare.com/Tipton and view all the inventory they have and find out what works for you to help make your ride shine. RevAutoCarCare.com/Tipton. Use promo code Tipton33 at checkout to save 15%. It is time for the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. We are live on YouTube, on X, on Facebook, and of course on Roku via our friends over at National Streaming Sports. Check out National Streaming Sports, all they have to offer. There's some great programming that they had going on this weekend as well, getting everybody ready for all of the football games that were happening this weekend, all of the fun stuff that was going out there in the world of sports. Remember, we're brought to you by our friends over at RevAutoCarCare.com. That's RevAutoCarCare.com. Use promo code Tipton33 to save up to 15%. A couple more collaborations that are going to be happening coming up over the next couple of weeks as well. I'm excited to tell you all about those as we get closer to them as well. One of them is I got a buddy, and I'm going to let you know about all the stuff that my buddy does, so I can't wait to get into those. Check out all the merch that they have over there. And of course, our website, tiptonsports.com, www.tiptonsports.com. Trying to get into the groove of doing more writing, more opinion pieces, things of that nature on the weekends whenever I am not going to do a show, unless it's a Bob, Jim, and Pat get drunk on the internet, in which case, I'm going to have me a good old time. Yesterday was a fun day. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders, they go head-to-head. Philadelphia ultimately gets the win. Then you get the Buffalo Bills taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. And that was, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the most fun games that we have been privy to in quite some time, especially given the way that these playoffs have been, right? Like, there's been a ton of blowouts, not a lot of really close games, not anything that you can really, say is all that fun. And we get a great game yesterday from the Buffalo Bills and from the Kansas City Chiefs. And the reason why I decided that I wanted to start here and not start with Philadelphia wasn't because the game was so close, wasn't because the game was that much more fun. I'm the type of person, I like to go chronologically, right? So for me, just from my mental state, it would be better to just say, let's start off with the Eagles and the Commanders. But that's not the storyline that I want to follow at this exact moment. What I want to try to follow is what's going on with, I guess, the world, right? Like the world that it is that we're living in at this exact moment, where no matter what happens, we have to try to find and distribute blame. And to me, whenever a game ends the way that Kansas City and Buffalo did, 32-29, last second game, all kinds of cool, fun stuff going on in the background, all of that. Whenever a game ends that way, it should just be like, damn, that was a great game. Better luck next time, Buffalo. we're going to, hopefully try to get things going for us and do all these other things. Our guy Tommy Cananza saying good morning, Tip. Good morning to you, Tommy. The nightmare for Dallas Cowboys fans continue. We'll talk about that coming up in a little bit as well. The Kansas City Chiefs are a good team. Augustine saying the Super Bowl for your Philadelphia Eagles. I've been calling it the whole time. I wanted a Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles. I wanted Philadelphia to go out there and lose in overtime of the Super Bowl. Like that was a goal that I have. That's what I want. That's where the hater in me is, right? Like I want to see Philadelphia in the Super Bowl. And I want them to lose the exact same way the San Francisco 49ers lost last year. I've been very open and honest about that one, right? Like I could not care less about Philadelphia being in the Super Bowl. It's all about whether or not you win the Super Bowl. And that to me is going to be what the deciding factor is whenever it comes to how I'm ultimately going to feel. But going back to that Buffalo Kansas City game, the conspiracies were already out there. Oh my God, Kansas City gets all the calls and blah, 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 and all that nonsense. And I like to deep dive into a good conspiracy theory every now and then. I cannot, for the life of me, I apologize, I got to take the glasses off. I've got a little bit of a migraine right now. I cannot, for the life of me, though, understand why we have to try and associate all the time that the referees are rigging the game, right? Like it's always the refs. It's the refs. And I understand, like I'm not a complete idiot. You know what I mean? Like I know I look like one, but I'm not a complete idiot. And I totally understand why people would feel that the Kansas City Chiefs are the beneficiary of the call. And I will tell you this, the reason why it feels like they're the beneficiary of the call is because winners get calls. It happens that way all the time. Hall of Famers get calls. The best players get calls. Whenever you watch Jordan pushing off in the middle part of a game or the late part of the game to win a championship, that doesn't get called on Jordan or LeBron James or anyone else. But if it's me and you doing that because we're a couple of scrubs, yes, it's going to get called. But to me, the issue that was at hand here was that fourth down play, Josh Allen getting the ball, tucking it into his right arm, getting stood up at the line to gain, and clearly, at least to me, being turned around to where he was not, and the ball did not cross or reach the line to gain. I had to, and I couldn't believe that I had to do this, break it down for people where a right-handed quarterback, and 90% of the time you're taught, tuck it into your right arm, the 3 points up here so that way no one rolls it away from you, that a right-handed quarterback is going to tuck it into his right arm, and as he gets turned away from the line of scrimmage, the ball is going to be further away, or not the line of scrimmage, but the line to gain is going to be further away from the line to gain. Line to gain was right here, ball was over here. You can see just by that, that's how it was short. And it's so insane to me that that's something that has to be explained to people. And then you hear on the broadcast, like Tony Romo, oh my God, one side judge was on this side and the other side judge was on this side. And I see that happen almost every play. Almost every play. And it always goes down to which side judge had the better view. That's who's going to be able to spot the ball. The side judge on the far side of the field was blocked by literally the entirety of the offensive line and defensive lines. The side judge that saw it got to see Josh Allen's back and his entire body and see that the ball was in his right side as he got turned around. That's how you can spot the damn ball. And the one thing that was always, or that caught me as a bit of a surprise, was that the person who was complaining the loudest, at least on my social media, took a picture, like screenshot it, drew a line, because obviously, that's going to be super scientific, drew a line using his finger and whatever editing app he used, and even with that line, had the ball short. Like he could have manipulated the picture the way that he wanted to manipulate it, and still drew the line short. And to me, it's just that this is where we go to with sports because we can't appreciate greatness in the moment. We have to appreciate greatness after we've already been told it's great, right? The revisionist history that everyone watches with Tom Brady and they're like, damn, that dude was nothing but a game manager. Then he retires and you realize, holy crap, a game manager cannot throw for 70,000 yards and what, 600 touchdowns, 700 touchdowns, whatever the hell it was. Tommy Canasta saying, I think that was a good call. He didn't get the first down. Exactly. He was spun around. Your forward progress is stopped the moment your body gets turned. I don't understand how this is even an issue or a question or anything of that nature, and I get it, right? Maybe I don't. I got to dial that back. Maybe I don't get it because whenever my teams lose or something happens to me as a fan, I don't take it as like a slight against me as a human being. I don't take it as though, like there was something that I had on the game, and like I'll bet on these games every now and again. Like Bet US, great site with our friends over at National Streaming Sports. I will bet on a lot of these games, and I still don't look at it as like, oh, they robbed me personally. And people have gotten to the level now where they take sports so effing personal. You don't play the game. If you were good enough to play the game, your goofy ass would be out there. You wouldn't have to be like me, talking about it on a podcast or doing any of this other nonsense. And I don't understand how it's even a talking point. And then we get the tweets that are out there from Amber Wilson at ESPN and a bunch of other people, Don LaGreca, and like all these people that are out there that are like, oh, this is going to be a boring Super Bowl. Are you kidding me? Two really good defenses with two really good quarterbacks, one of them a dynamic all-around team offensively in Philadelphia, and we're seeing the Kansas City Chiefs, when they need to, they score. They don't have to put up 1,000 points a game. They can leave a little bit in the tank, right? They don't have to do what they did 5 years ago and just outscore everybody. Now all they have to do is just rely on their defense and get enough points to win the game. Even if Philadelphia were to hypothetically get out to a huge lead, I don't feel like it would be something insurmountable with Kansas City. You felt like it was insurmountable yesterday with Washington. You even felt yesterday with the game being like a 10-point game against Buffalo, that was insurmountable for Buffalo. This is a great storyline. This is going to be a fun Super Bowl. Two of my closest friends are going to be at each other's throat, and I'm going to be sitting there instigating the entire time. Like, it's going to be a fun time. Augustine saying, I think with all this BS about the refs, we are cheapening the amazing game yesterday. I agree 100%. It was a masterpiece of a game. Like it genuinely was. Because you sat there and you got to witness two great quarterbacks dueling it out. One, and like neither one of them has an amazing cast of characters around them, right? You saw Patrick Mahomes, dinking and dunking. It wasn't until, late in the game that we start getting Travis Kelce involved, that you start getting, Xavier Worthy involved. Hollywood Brown making his resurgence after being injured basically all season long, right? Like you're seeing, oh man, maybe the Chiefs might have a little more than what we thought they had. And then you see like the growth of Mac Hollins as like a guy, as what could be a number 1 or number 2 receiver for the Buffalo Bills. It gave you the shades of a couple of years ago with Gabe Davis and his 4-touchdown game because he was wearing number 13 and somehow wide open down the field the whole time. It was a great game. You were on your edge of the seat most of the second half, if not the entirety of the second half. And I don't understand how we cannot look at sports and just be thankful for what we were able to see. Tommy Canazza saying it was a great game, much better than the first one. Augustine Pimentel saying, and about Josh Allen, he's an amazing quarterback, don't get me wrong. but he's too robotized. Romo said it. He is going to go left, and he did. That's going to be another thing, right? Like that's going to be another topic. Can we stop the Tony Romo hate? Like of he doesn't predict the games. He did pretty damn well yesterday. Like that was fun listening to him because he's like, this is what I saw on film. This is what the Bills are going to do, and they did it. And the same thing with Kansas City. He's like, look, they're going to use Patrick Mahomes' legs in third down, fourth down situations. Buffalo's not going to be ready for it because they haven't done this with Patrick Mahomes in years. And then we go down to this one, which I really think should be what people are looking at right now. Dalton Kincaid really should have caught that pass. I don't know how he didn't catch that pass. Like, it was insane to me. And Josh Allen, like, good job on him. I was waiting, and I guess I haven't been on social enough today to see if it's actually something that happened or came through fruition, but I was waiting to see if anybody out there was going to say that there needed to be a flag on Kansas City because Josh Allen jumped up and threw the ball and then got laid out, right? Because I guarantee you, if a flag had come out, everyone out there would have been like, oh, great call, great call, great call. Unless it was Patrick Mahomes that rolled out, did the exact same thing. We have created, for some strange reason, a level of apathy towards every other team. And we hold the Kansas City Chiefs to a different standard than that of what we hold these other teams to. There were a lot of bad calls that went Buffalo's way too. Even in the Philadelphia game, there's a lot of bad calls and missed calls where you're sitting and you're thinking to yourself, damn, Philadelphia gets all the calls. If that happens in Kansas City, it is a national story. Everyone's just talking about it. Had no real impact on the game, but it's still just a talking point because people want to find someone to place blame to. Augustine Pimentel saying, I stand by my statement. Tony Romo is the best Dallas Cowboys quarterback ever. I agree with that. Statistically, he is head and shoulders above Aikman, Staubach, all that stuff, right? What they have is what he doesn't have, and that is multiple championship rings. And with Dallas, that's where the standard was, at least, right? Like it was, you got to go in and win championships. Now we're going 30 years removed, right? But that's what the standard was for the Dallas Cowboys was you need to come in and win championships. I think that standard needs to change. But that's me personally as a fan. We'll talk more about the hiring of Brian Schottenheimer coming up a little bit later. Tommy Cananza and I basically in tears because on Friday, as we're doing the show, we're like, there's a possibility maybe Pete Carroll could be here with the Dallas Cowboys. Who knows? And what do we get? I get the news in the middle of the show that Pete Carroll was hired by the Las Vegas Raiders. Great hire, though, in my mind, by Las Vegas. Fantastic. I think, and, I'm not one to follow meme culture or anything like that. I think there's a legitimate chance that Russell Wilson goes to Vegas. You got to remember, he was only on a one-year deal with Pittsburgh, but that he goes to Vegas. And if you get yourself a halfway decent quarterback in Vegas, get him a couple of things that he can throw to, maybe, just maybe, you have something you can build here. Especially with the emergence of their rookie tight end. Jesus Christ, man. Like they've got some building pieces there. Obviously, you're the worst team in the division, but at least you have hope. Whereas if you're the Dallas Cowboys and you got to get Brian Schottenheimer as your new head coach, you've got no hope. No chance in hell. No positivity. None of that stuff is going to be able to help you out if you are the Dallas Cowboys and their fan base at this exact moment. Augustine Pimentel going on to say, Brian Schottenheimer got hired because of continuity for Dak. Dak isn't going anywhere with that contract, so they need to build around him and what is established. I'll talk about that coming up in just a second because I've got some ideas on what I believe is going to happen with the future of the Dallas Cowboys. I will get to that in just a couple of seconds. I did want to give some flowers, though, to what felt like the longest game this year in the NFL. That first half between Philadelphia and Washington felt like it couldn't come to an end fast enough. Washington shooting themselves in the foot because they cannot hold to the football. Obviously, that's jitters of being in a place where you're not expected to be, where you didn't expect yourself to be, and you got overwhelmed in that moment. That's what that game felt like. The collapse in the second half for the Washington Commanders really felt that way. And whenever you're the Philadelphia Eagles and you can lean on Saquon Barkley and knowing that the Commanders have a terrible run defense, that's where the game changed. A great job by Philadelphia, a dominant performance, 55-23. 55-23. Jesus, man. And that was the thing too, right? It's jitters, yes, but those hits by the Eagles were nasty. I think that's what it was, is we got to look at Philadelphia and remember this was a team that was in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. This is a team that has a ton of expectations. They're playing with a chip on their shoulder, like they've got something to prove, and they really do. They given the collapse from last year, they genuinely have something that they need to prove. But Washington was just overwhelmed in that moment. Like, congratulations to them. I've been talking about it ever since last week. What is this going to do as far as expectations, which I feel are going to be unattainable for the Washington Commanders going forward? I know that, it's a great talking point. They made it to the NFC Championship game before the Dallas Cowboys, blah, 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 blah. That doesn't matter. What matters is sustainability. Even if the Cowboys made it to an NFC Championship game, the narrative would be, well, did they make it the next year? Right? Like that's the way that these things go. Did they make it next year? Washington, to me, now has set a bar so high that it might be impossible for their team and their franchise to reach it, but at least they gave their fans something to cheer about, given all the nonsense they had to deal with Dan Snyder as the head, as the owner of the team, right? Thank God they now have something else. But we get again a dominant performance by Philadelphia. It's going to set up a great Super Bowl matchup, which I think is going to be great between Kansas City and Philadelphia. I don't know if the game is going to be as fun as what we saw yesterday with the Bills and the Chiefs, but it's still going to be a pretty damn fun game. Augustine Pimentel saying, is Washington a good team? That is a question, and where are they in their division? I think they're a good team. There's going to be a lot of turnover because a lot of the contracts they had for players this year were one-year deals. And in order to keep those one-year deals, you got to be able to start paying out more than what you were going to. So now the salary cap is going to get influenced, right? The one thing that benefits them is that you are on a rookie deal with Jaden Daniels. And you have to wait till year 3 in order to start talking anything about restructure or anything of that nature, right? So they've got at least one more year where they don't have to worry about Jaden Daniels is going to hold out, Jaden Daniels is going to do XYZ, whatever it is, right? So they can load up on talent around them. To me, they're a very talented team. I think they need help in the receiver core. I think they need help in their secondary and along the defensive line. And they can go out in free agency and get that. They can go out in the draft and get that. The question of where are they in the division? I think a healthy Dallas Cowboys team is better than Washington. But now that the season's over, you don't know what they are right now, right? So, like, we've got to wait and see. And I know that's not a sexy thing to say, but we've got to wait and see what's going to happen in the draft, what's going to happen in free agency before we can start arbitrarily handing out division rankings of who's going to be where. We know everyone's going to be ahead of the Giants, but it's going to be, for me at least, a flipping of either Dallas or Washington in that number 2, number 3 spot. I think Philadelphia is still the cream of the crop. Having Saquon now for 2 more years after this year is going to allow them to do that. Let's see if he stays healthy. This is like the healthiest year he's had. But if Saquon can stay healthy for Philadelphia, it gives them a little more dynamic of a team than what the rest of the NFC East teams have. Augustine saying, no, Dallas is not better than the commies. They are the commies now. I don't know if you can say it. Like, Dallas was bit a lot by the injury bug. And you got to remember, like, there was just a ton of injuries, right? Like that's what it is. Augustine saying it's Philadelphia, Washington, Dallas, and then the Giants. I mean, I'm not going to dispute that, but you're going off of this year's rankings. Okay. What's it going to be next year? There will be a ton of turnover in Washington. Again, they overachieved. Look at how far some players can drop back in that sophomore season, right? Now that there's tape on you, now that we know how you can dissect pro defenses, now we can game plan for you. I think Washington was a beneficiary of a lot of, again, apathy. They're Washington. They're not going to be that good. They also got extremely lucky in one-score games this year. That's going to revert back to the mean, right? That's going to be the issue with Washington. Is sure, you got to the NFC Championship game. That's awesome. Bravo to you. But I just, like we saw it over the last couple of years with the Minnesota Vikings. In 2022, they won a ton of one-score games. In 2023, they lost a ton of one-score games, right? Like that's just how it goes, man. Like the football gods give and the football gods take. And I feel like we've got to see what happens with Washington, what happens with the way that teams are going to scheme them before we can say, oh, this team next year is going to be better than this team, right? And it's tough for me to say that whenever I look back and I see that the Dallas Cowboys hired Brian Schottenheimer. Tommy Cananza saying, nope, Dallas will be back on top next year. Don't tell me you have no faith in Shoddy. Shoddy. Yeah. And then saying to Augustine, what will happen with the Patriots next year, Augustine? I agree. What's going to happen with that team? The comments going back and forth between Augustine and Tommy. On top of what? On top of the number 1 overall draft pick. All right. I mean, I've been saying it about the Dallas Cowboys too. If you're gonna try to take something out of it, like, oh, we're going to suck. I've been saying it about Dallas, right? Like I've got no faith in the Dallas Cowboys next year, but I also don't have a lot of faith in Washington. All right. So this is what I wanted to look at. And it was in regards to what's going to happen with the Dallas Cowboys and where they currently rank right now since they hired Brian Schottenheimer, who was on nobody's list to be interviewed as an offensive coordinator or a head coach anywhere. For those that don't know, Brian Schottenheimer was the offensive coordinator with the Dallas Cowboys over the last couple of years, never had play calling duty, any of that stuff, right? He was also the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks from 2017 to 2021. And during that time, we got the let Russ cook movement, right? And we saw the transition from the Seattle Seahawks offense being a run-based offense to being a very pass-heavy offense, with Russell Wilson being the dude back there just launching passes. Again, a beautiful deep ball passer. He really is. Super gifted at those deep routes. But the efficiency and effectiveness of that offense just went to hell. Brian Schottenheimer, you can say, okay, he was the offensive coordinator at Dallas the last 2 seasons. Last season, Dallas had the 24th ranked offense in the NFL. But the year before that, they had the number 1 ranked offense in the NFL. So maybe he just brings some carryover with Dak, right? Like Augustine mentioned it. It's just continuity for Dak. We got to have this and that. I've said it. I thought the Dallas Cowboys were caught with their pants down. I don't believe that they were really under the impression that Mike McCarthy was going to walk away. And Mike McCarthy walked away. The deal wasn't what Mike McCarthy wanted it to be. And I had to think about this, remove myself from the initial Jesus Christ, we're going to suck. But don't get me wrong, we're going to suck. They're going to be bad. But there's light at the end of the tunnel, right? And stick with me here, Dallas Cowboys fans. Augustine saying, I hope Dallas fans have faith so it gets crumpled. LOL. There's no way. There's none. Right? The way that they're in salary cap hell, I'd be surprised if they're able to keep Rico Dowdle. Like it's going to be bad. Tommy Kanata saying, I don't want a let Dak cook movement in Dallas. Run the damn ball. I agree with that. I think Dallas showed a lot of their success this year by being able to establish the run. That's what I want the Dallas Cowboys to do. But this is what I was going to get to. As someone who nerds out on a lot of these little things. The current cap number for Dak Prescott this season was $89,896,666. 32% of the Dallas Cowboys salary cap went to Dak Prescott. Then you add in the $35 million hit for CeeDee Lamb, and boom, right there, 45% of your salary cap in 2 dudes. 2 guys. The dead cap number is what I always look at, right? That's always going to be my number one thing, is the dead cap number. As I'm getting a phone call right now from Planet Fitness. Do I look like I've been to a Planet Fitness sometime soon? But I look at that dead cap number, and if the Dallas Cowboys had let go of Dak Prescott this year, the dead cap number would have been $151,887,647. Just an enormous amount of money for the Dallas Cowboys. But then comes next year, and this is where I'm really looking at next year. Next year, for Dak Prescott, 2026 season, that $89 million cap number, that's for this season, right? That's what I'm saying. The Cowboys are going to be in salary cap hell. The cap hit for Dak Prescott next season, 2026, is $67,696,666. That's a crazy thing that his contract back-to-back years, 666. Talks about something with it, right? I'm joking. But for the first time since getting his first big deal with Dallas, his dead cap number is going to be less than his actual salary cap. So that means his dead cap number is $62,005,000. $62,005,000 for Dak in the dead cap space, which means for the first time since 2018, it would be beneficial for the Dallas Cowboys to move on from Dak in a monetary way. By releasing Dak Prescott in 2026 and tanking all of next season, which is what I firmly believe the Dallas Cowboys are going to do, the Dallas Cowboys now open the door for the rebuilding process, getting a rookie quarterback that's out there to maybe be the savior of the Dallas Cowboys franchise. You're able to keep CeeDee Lamb. You're able to keep Micah Parsons, build around that, and now you can do more. I'm a firm believer in. I believe the Dallas Cowboys are doing this, and maybe I'm being maybe I'm suckered into it, right? Maybe I'm one of these people who's just trying to be overly optimistic about the future. But I believe that the Dallas Cowboys are going to be awful next season on purpose to begin the rebuild process. You already know what you got in Dak. You're not going to be able to trade Dak Prescott. No one's going to want that contract. And what are you going to get for Dak Prescott, right? My guy, James Steele, commented in the comment section on one of my posts. And we're going to get this going now. The Dallas Cowboys in 2025 are going to be awful for Arch. Awful for Arch. That's what we're doing. Because in 2026, now you can move on from Dak Prescott. You got one more year of his dead cap space being exponentially larger than his actual value to the team. So if you let go of him now, it's going to hurt the team much more than it would be if you just kept him. 2026, you're able to get rid of him and actually save money. It's $5 million, but it's $5 million, right? The Dallas Cowboys, as of right now, don't even have that amount of money that they can just go around trying to spend. If you look at what the Dallas Cowboys' projected cap space would be in 2026, because they are, in my opinion, going to be bad this year. I don't expect them to spend in free agency. I don't expect them to do anything. I expect them to trade away draft picks, trade away halfway decent players that they can, and start gaining more draft capital. That's my expectation for them. In 2026, the salary cap for the Dallas Cowboys balloons to $103 million. That's what they would have to be able to spend in 2026. As of right now, at this exact moment, the Dallas Cowboys have negative $973,470 in salary cap space. I am looking forward to next season. Next season's what I want. Not 2025. I'm done with 2025. I'm moving on from 2025. We're going to be awful for Arch. Trademark James Steele. We're going to be awful for Arch. That's what we're going to be doing. And I am about it. I'm for it. I've been saying for years that the Dallas Cowboys need to embrace an actual rebuild. I put it out there on X, and I got laughed at. That if the Dallas Cowboys were to sign Brian Schottenheimer, it would be a sign of them embracing the rebuild. They are not going to be good in 2025. That should be your expectation, Dallas Cowboys fan. There's not going to be good in 2025. They're going to embrace the rebuild. They're going to be awful for Arch. And now, in 2026, with $103 million in cap space, and that's if you don't trade away some other players, because I think that that's what the Cowboys are going to do. Now that you have that ability, you can embrace the rebuild process. Draft yourself a young quarterback that's halfway able, sign a mediocre backup quarterback, and roll your dice at actually doing something. The Dallas Cowboys over the last 30 years, unlike the 49ers, unlike a lot of the other teams that are out there that have had long-term droughts of championships, have never fully embraced a rebuild season. They've never done it. That's why they've been in this purgatory of 500 since 1996. It is time now for the Dallas Cowboys to embrace the rebuild. And I firmly believe that that's what's going on right now. Once again, maybe it's on me. Maybe I'm being way too optimistic with the Dallas Cowboys, thinking that this might be the mindset that they have for next season. And I get it. All these people are like, oh, boycott the Dallas Cowboys, blah, 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 blah. I've said this a million times. I'll say it until the day that I die. Sports is transactionary. It's not reciprocal. You boycotting the Dallas Cowboys means someone else is just going to go buy that ticket. They are too big of a brand for your wallet to impact. You would have to get 70% of the fan base to be like, I'm not going to go to those games. but you go for the atmosphere in order for a boycott in Dallas to actually be felt. This might be breaking news to some people out there. Your favorite sports team does not care about you. All they care about from you is what you spend. That's what professional sports is. Can we please, for the love of God, stop pretending like professional sports are this sanctuary place of where, oh no, it's really for the fans. They do it for the fans. They do not care about you because someone else will spend money. It's that simple. I hope I'm not the person breaking this news to people. Oof. Marlene Salcido saying, hi, good morning to you. Medusa Designs tuning in over on the YouTube feed. Got to go back and read some of the comments. I went on a whole ass soliloquy right there. Tommy Carranza saying the Cowboys are going to have $19 million initially with a couple of contract restructures, Dax included, can open up about $60 million. I don't want it. I don't want them to open up any of that stuff. Embrace the rebuild. Do not restructure Dak Prescott's contract. I know more than likely they will. And that's such a disservice to the team because you already know what you got with Dak. I would not, if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I'm not restructuring a damn thing. I am tanking this season. Awful for Arch. That's what we're going to do. Awful for Arch. I'm going to get shirts made. Augustine going with the recycled thing here of, it's been a rebuild for 30 years. No, it hasn't. It really hasn't. They've never tanked a season away. They've been bad, but they've never gone in with, we're going to let contracts expire. We're going to get rid of players. They've never done that in Dallas. It's time to now. Tommy Canazzo saying the Cowboys front load their contracts so that they can restructure the big deals. It's just what they do. $103 million, and I guarantee they won't spend half of it. Stephen Jones lives shopping at the Dollar Tree. There ain't nothing wrong with shopping at the Dollar Tree. I think I got this. No, I didn't get this cup at the Dollar Tree. I think I have another cup similar to this that I got at the Dollar Tree. Tommy Canazzo saying Jerry Jones will never do a full rebuild. Confuse him. Just in his suite, just in Jerry Jones' suite. This is where you gotta, again, guys, I'm dealing with a migraine. I apologize if I keep taking off my glasses. In Jerry Jones' suite, all you have to do is just put up video, right? Like black out his entire thing, make it look like he's watching the game from where he's always watching the game, and just put up highlights of like the Dallas Cowboys in 1992, right? Take advantage of that old man and his poor eyesight and make him feel good, right? Like, how many times have we been, Jesus Christ, I'm going to sound like a monster. How many times they're just talking and yammering and doing their thing, and we're like, oh yeah, no, like, of course, like anything to make you feel better. That's what the Dallas Cowboys need to start doing with Jerry Jones. He's old. I assure you, he's easily confused. God bless it. I'm a horrible human being. That's all you got to do. Just confuse him. He's old. Take him to Frisco. Have him watch the games there. Age him out. I sound like a horrible human being right now. He shouldn't be that involved in the team. And if you don't want to call it a rebuild, then come up with a fancy word for it. Hell, I'll spend after this show thinking up synonyms of what rebuild could be. You know what? Instead of calling it a rebuild, we'll call it the Dallas Cowboys Renaissance. We're bringing it back. It's going to be back better than ever. The Dallas Cowboys Phoenix rising from the ashes. If that's what we got to call it to get Jerry Jones on board. But I assure you, all you have to do, he's a doddering old man. Just let him be a doddering old man. Show him something on a TV screen, and he'll be like, oh, put Walker, Texas Ranger, or Matlock, or whatever the hell it is that old people watch, and he'll be fine. It's okay, Jerry. You're okay. It's good. Look, the Dallas Cowboys, they were good. I guarantee you he cannot see, with his age, the difference between standard def, HD, and 4K. It'll be all right. I sound like a freaking monster right now. Augustine Pimentel saying, so what are you going to do with the 2-3 tank seasons if you have Jerry Jones still calling the shots? That's the thing, right? Like you have to. I mean, Jerry Jones is the owner, the GM. As long as he's breathing, he's going to have an impact on the team. Tommy Canazzo saying, we want them to tank for Arch and watch them ruin it by winning 13 games and winning in another wild card game. I agree. I was saying it yesterday. Like, that's my nightmare scenario for the Dallas Cowboys is they're going to find a way to, completely uproot and dismantle this roster, win 15 games, and lose in the first round of the playoffs. That's what they're going to do. Because they're going to do what they did this year, which is just factor in hope, right? Traffic in hope, giving us the hope of, you know what? They're 3-8 on the season. If they win these games, there's the possibility, right? It's small. It was less than 1%. Tiny. For Augustine, this is at least 12 and a half inches, but that much of a chance of making the playoffs. And I assure you that just to spite me, right? I'm sure everyone has these moments of where you feel like you're living a real life Truman Show. I feel like that's what happens with the Dallas Cowboys to me sometimes. I'll be like, I hate this effing team, and then I'll be like, I hate that I love this effing team. I love this effing team, and it's always whenever I get to that highest of highs where I'm like, there's the real possibility, guys. I've never said this is our year, we're going to win a Super Bowl. I've always said there's a real possibility they can make some noise. Next year, I'm saying there's zero chance in hell. The Vince McMahon, oh man, I probably shouldn't have said that. The Vinnie Mac theme song coming out. You got no chance in hell doing the billionaire walk, just all that stuff. You got no chance, pal. And I feel like they win 15 games, make it to the playoffs, lose the way that they always lose, and just continue to hurt me as they remain my most toxic relationship in anything that I've done. And I'm the product of adoption. I know a lot about toxic relationships. Augustine Pimentel saying the Cowboys, if they ever come back, will be whenever Jerry Jones is no longer calling the shots. Wow. I just called him a doddering old man. You're over here just like wanting to full on kill him. It's not that deep, man. It's okay. I will ask you this though, Augustine, because I feel like at some point in time, you were more than likely a Dallas Cowboys fan, and you got turned away from them because of Jerry Jones. And I know you being as prideful as you are, I don't think that you would admit that, but I feel like there's something there, right? Like there was the broken promise of, man, this team could have been amazing. Like if they had kept Jimmy Johnson, what could this team have been in those early 90s? Like there's a real possibility that they win 4, maybe 5 Super Bowls, right? Like, and I'm not saying that out of any context. The Dallas Cowboys were just that overwhelming at that point in time. The issue they had was moving on to Barry Switzer. Barry Switzer becomes the joke. There's always that video on the sideline of Troy Aikman as he's talking to one of the coaches and being like, we got to have some damn accountability here. We got a coach who's over here just, attaboying all the players, and just a lot of expletives coming out of Troy Aikman's mouth. I feel like that, as soon as Jerry Jones was like, I've got to be the guy that gets all the credit, turned off a lot of older legacy Dallas Cowboys fans to the point where they were just like, as long as that guy's there, it's not going to happen. And they've been proven right so far, right? Like they really have been proven right so far, because Jerry Jones has been a phenomenal owner, a phenomenal president of the team. He's been a mediocre at best, and sometimes he'll have these seasons where he's great GM. Jerry Jones, the GM, would have been fired by Jerry Jones, the owner, and I think we all know that. Like it's an inevitability type thing. But it's just one of, I guess, like a list of just issues that people have had with the Dallas Cowboys. And I know, right? I'm old enough to know there's been a lot of Cowboys fans that left the team simply because of Jerry Jones. And I wonder, Augustine, if that might be the case with you. Now, again, I don't think you're prideful enough, or I think you're too prideful to say, "Oh yeah, no, I used to cheer for the Cowboys," because you love being in this lane of hating the Dallas Cowboys. But I truly, genuinely believe, and I know, and I feel like that's a Stephen A. route, right? Stephen A. always talks about his hatred for the Dallas Cowboys, and it was from a girl. Oh, this girl, like she was a Dallas Cowboys fan, and you couldn't close a deal with a girl that was a Cowboys fan, so now you hate the Dallas Cowboys. Seems suspicious, guy. Tommy Canazza saying, chances are Augustine has rooted for every team in the NFL at least once in his old ass life. Bandwagon at its finest. Woo, woo. Man, you're just both barrels blazing at Augustine today. Get him, roast him. Once again, you're tuned into the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. We are live on Roku, X, YouTube, and Facebook. Shout out to our friends over at National Streaming Sports for allowing us to be on that platform. I don't know how long we're going to be on that platform, because one of these days I feel like they're just going to get tired of me and kick my ass smooth the hell off the platform. But I will embrace every moment that I'm there for now. Thank you. Shout out to Mac and Linda. Some great content that was out all over the place this weekend with National Streaming Sports. It was a ton of fun. Tuning in, watching the debate that was going on with a lot of the stuff. I can't wait to see what's said later on this week whenever it comes down to the Kansas City Chiefs. I love the fact that everyone out there is somehow already turned on the Kansas City Chiefs. Like we want nothing to do with Kansas City. At least a lot of these nerds that are out there, the Chiefs, how do they get away with this highway robbery? Because they're better. They're just better than everyone else. They got the best quarterback, arguably the best coach. They've got the best defensive coordinator in the NFL. They're just a better team. Flatly. The Kansas City Chiefs, you cannot deny their greatness. You can do it with a lot of other teams if you want to, but you cannot deny the greatness of the Kansas City Chiefs, formerly the Dallas Texans. I've said it a bunch of times. I'll say it again too. The more that the Chiefs win, the more credit the Dallas Cowboys should get. If not for the Dallas Cowboys, there would not be a Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City fans, I say this from the bottom of my heart. I've got nothing but love for y'all. I say it from the bottom of my heart. You're welcome. What can I say except you're welcome? Anytime I sing, it's super creepy. I get to hear it in my ears, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, man, do I really sound like that? Especially, like, I have to go back, I'll, like, cut highlights and stuff like that, try to put them out on social media, just little things like that, and I hear my voice, I'm like, Jesus Christ, do I really sound like that? I haven't smoked a cigar in about a year, so maybe that's what I've got to go out, smoke a cigar, get that deep, sultry voice back, do all the stuff that I've got to do in order to make sure that I sound my absolute best. Tommy Canazza saying, let's go Chiefs, a.k.a. the Dallas Texans. Hell yeah, baby. Once again, every championship the Kansas City Chiefs win, I am attributing to the Dallas Cowboys or the Dallas area, which means Dallas now is looking at getting their 10th ring. Man, what a great, great city. The birthplace of football, Dallas. The success of the 70s and the 60s with the Kansas City Chiefs winning one of the first Super Bowls, right? So the Kansas City Chiefs getting those first Super Bowls in the 60s, the Cowboys in the 70s. Now, the 80s we're not going to talk about. The 90s were great. The 10s, the 2000s, not so much. The 10s, not so much. But the 20s, let's go. Great time for the entire Dallas area. Once again, Kansas City Chiefs fans, you're welcome. The real title town. There we go. That's what Tommy Canazza said. The real title town. That's what Dallas is, baby. I also love, like, I'm one of these people where, like, I just love oddities in sports, right? And for me, it's whenever you have, like, a list of cities that have won all of the sports championships, right? So, like with Dallas, you have a team that won the World Series, a team that's won the NBA championship, a team that's won the NHL Stanley Cup championship, and a team that's won the Super Bowl. And you go and you have to like look throughout the rest of them. It's like Boston that's done that, New York that's done that. Um, Not Philadelphia. I don't think the 76ers won an NBA championship yet. But like I love those types of outliers, right? Especially seeing a city like Dallas that's won a Stanley Cup championship. I just love it. I'm not going to attribute Vegas, right? Because I don't think Vegas won the LA Raiders championship. So I'm not attributing Vegas to this. They got to win it in Vegas. And it's going to be the same thing with the Oakland A's, right? Like they aren't going to do it in Vegas, but hey, maybe we do something with it. I can't even say the Oakland A's anymore. I forgot they are the Sacramento A's or just flatly the Athletics. I can't wait to get into baseball season, guys. You guys have no idea. I've been like holding back a ton of just useless baseball stuff. The other day, whenever I was on the National Stream of Sports professional sports show, it was just me and like two other guys talking baseball for what felt like maybe 5 total minutes for us, but had to feel like a lifetime for everyone else that was out there watching. Tommy Canazza saying the A's moved? Man, baseball's in trouble. Like it really is in trouble. Tommy, I hope like I sincerely hope you're being like funny about it and you kind of knew because it's been a thing. Well, like it's but again, maybe I'm just like I'm in a lot of baseball circles. Maybe that's how I know, right? Like I love me some baseball. Also, some pretty cool things that are going to be coming up here with the tipping point with Mike Tipton as we go forward in the next month. February going to be a nice busy month for your boy. I will be going to Glendale, Arizona on the 23rd of February, and I will be covering the U.S. national team, the U.S. women's national team, as they are in action. Your boy is already credentialed with U.S. Soccer, and it's going to be so that way I can, the best way that I can at least, get credentialed for the World Cup. The World Cup going to be in North America, and trying to learn a little bit about soccer. So I am offering to my friends that are out there, the people that support this show, I cannot do this without y'all. If you know anything about soccer, please, please help me, teach me. I am trying to learn this sport so that way I can cover it better whenever it's time for the World Cup to be here. As I strive to be someone that actually goes out and covers these events the way that I can. I've also got another cool thing that I'm working on with my friends over at Jose Cuervo. I'll let you all know about that coming up in the next couple of days. Tommy Canazza saying I really had no idea, man. Tommy, I cannot get into all the details about it. It is a lot of it's a lot of drama. It's a lot of fun stuff. Marlene saying soccer is a lot to teach. LOL. I just need the basics. Which is funny because I actually did PA at UTEP soccer games for UTEP women's soccer. Like I was the PA guy, but I always had a spotter. I have like a basic knowledge of it. It's just so hard for me to watch on TV. It's really so hard for me to watch on TV. Tommy Canazzo saying I had a better chance of knowing that the A's moved than knowing anything about soccer. LMAO. I'm trying, my guy. I think the World Cup being in North America is going to be so much fun. My goal is to go cover a game in all 3 countries, right? I've got my passport. Everything's good to go. Go cover a game in Mexico, cover a game here in the United States, cover a game in Canada. That's the goal for me, at least. So I've got my fingers crossed. I've been credentialed by U.S. Soccer, which is a cool thing for me to say. And I'm going to start doing a lot more with U.S. Soccer once we get out of the NFL season. As we know in the United States, the NFL is king. All right, everybody, I want to thank you so much for tuning in to The Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. Make sure you follow us on all of our various social media. Follow me as well at Mr. Tipton33, and we will see you all tomorrow. Go Chiefs. Who cares about referees?